Hi, first graders. Welcome to another Read Aloud. I hope you had a great weekend. I know that I did. Oh, here's Oliver. I knew he was going to come join us. He really likes story time, so he'll be here probably watching and listening to the story too. So our unit that we are currently on is Sharing the Planet. And our central idea is Earth's resources are shared by living things. And the line of inquiry that we're focusing on this week is our responsibility to take care of the planet. So while I'm reading, I want you to start thinking about what is your responsibility in taking care of the planet? How can you take care of the planet? So we're going to read one of my very favorite stories. It is The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. The Lorax. At the far end of town, where the grickle grass grows and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing except old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood, just as long as it could, before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax, and why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere? From the far end of town where the grickle grass grows, the old onceler still lives here. Ask him. He knows. So let's look at the picture. What do you notice here in the illustrations? Do you see a lot of trees? Do you see a lot of water? I'm noticing that a lot of the trees look like they're dead. There is one plant up here, and it looks pretty sad, honestly. You won't see the onceler, don't knock at his door. He stays and is lurkin' on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkin', cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of mufflered moof. And on special dank midnights in August, he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells you how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. On the end of the rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail, and the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather's snail. Then he pulls up the pail, makes the most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. And he hides what you paid him away in his snub, his secret strange hole in his grunvelous glove. Then he grunts, I will call you by whisper, my phone, for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone. Sloop! Down slups the whisper-ma-phone to your ear, and the old onceler whispers are not very clear, since they have to come down through the snurgly hose, and he sounds as if he had smallish bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back such a long, long time ago. Way back in the days when the grass was still green and the pond was still wet and the clouds were still clean and the songs of the swami swans rang out in space, one morning I came to this glorious place And I first saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright colored tufts and the truffula trees, mile after mile in fresh morning breeze. Okay, now I want you to think back to the other illustration. How are they different? Because before, on the other page, it was all dark and gray, and now look how bright it is. I wonder what caused that to happen. And under the trees, I saw brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits as they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. From the rippleless pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. How many living things do you see in this picture? But those trees, those truffula trees. All my life I've been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping joy of my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. In no time at all, I had built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffula tree with just one chop. And the great skillful skill with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft and I kneaded a thneed. The instant I'd finished, I heard a gazump. I looked and saw something pop out of the stump of the tree I'd chopped down. It was sort of a man. Describe him, that's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. I wonder what he's doing there. What is he going to tell them? Mister, he said with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues, and I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset as he shouted and puffed, What's that thing you've made out of my truffula tuft? How is the Lorax feeling about him chopping down a tree? Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I chopped down just one tree. I am doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed, a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat, but it has other uses. Yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains, or covers, or bicycle seats. The Lorax said, Sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one on earth who would buy that fool thneed. But the very next minute I proved he was wrong, for just at that minute a chap came along and he thought that the thneed I had knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor stupid guy. You can never tell what some people will buy. Oh, the Lorax looks a little upset. I repeat, cried the Lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Be quiet, if you please. I rushed across the room, and in no time at all, I built a radio phone and I put in a quick call. I called on my brothers and uncles and aunts and I said, listen here, here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast. Take the road to the North Niche. Turn left at Weehawk and sharp right at South Stitch. So the Lorax said that he was greedy, and I think I would have to agree. The Onceler does seem pretty greedy. And in no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were all knitting sneeds, just as busy as bees, to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. Oh, it looks like they're chopping down a lot of trees. Do you think that he's being responsible right now? Then, oh, baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now, chopping one tree at a time was so slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffula trees at one smacker. We were making needs 4 times as fast before, and that Lorax, well, he didn't show up anymore. But the next week, he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, I'm the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping down as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloos who played in the shade in their barbaloot suits. And I'm happily lived eating truffula fruits. Now, thanks to you hacking up my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruit to go around. And my poor barbaloots are all getting their crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. So even though it doesn't seem like a big deal that he's chopping down those trees, is it affecting the other animals? Look how sad they are. They loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They have to find food. I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried, and he sent them away. I, the Onceler, felt sad, but as I watched them all go, but business is business, and business must grow, regardless of the crummies and tummies, you know? Why did the bears have to leave? They needed to go find more food, so there was no food left for them, so they had to move. I meant no harm, I most truly did not, but I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory, I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, I biggered the loads. For the needs I shipped out, I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more needs, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. I don't know if you need that much money. And then again he came. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. I am the Lorax, he coughed and he whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffled, he snargled and sniffed. Onceler, he cried with a cruffless croak. Onceler, you're making such smog as smoke. My poor swarmy swans, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in his throat. Uh-oh, more animals he's affecting. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you've smogged up around here. Now they're flying away. What's more, snapped the Lorax. His dander was up. Let me say a few words about Glubbity Glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, making glubbity glub, also schloppity schlop. And what do you do with this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old Onceler man, you. What do we think he does with all this yucky goo? You're glumping the pond where the humming fish hum. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. So now even the fish are having to leave their homes. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax. Now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap, yap and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir. And I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring and biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering, turning out more truffula trees into thneeds, which everyone needs. Oh my goodness, I don't know if they need them that much. What do you think the Lorax is going to do now? Now that the Onceler has yelled at him. And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From the outside of the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard the tree fall, the very last truffula tree of them all. Okay, now I want you to think back to the picture when it was all bright. Compare it to this one. What does this one look like? Is it all bright anymore? Nope. Look at all the trees. Now there are no more trees left. No more trees, no more thneeds, no more work to be done. So, in no time, my uncles and aunts, everyone, all waved me goodbye. They jumped into cars and drove away under the smoke-smuggered stars. Now all that was left neath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax, and I. How do you think the Onceler's feeling right now? I think he's probably feeling a little guilty or upset. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance, just gave me a very sad, backwards glance as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants, and I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he heisted himself and took leave of his place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. And all that Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with the one word, unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. That was long ago, but each day since that day I've sat here and worried away. Through the years, while my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all of my heart. Do you think the Onceler would go back and change anything if he could? I think so. What do you think that unless means? But now, says the Onceler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So, Catch, calls the Onceler. He lets something fall. It's a truffula seed. It's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds, and the truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula, treat it with care, give it clean water, and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from axes that hack. Then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. And that is the end of the Lorax. So what do you think the boy did at the end of the story with that truffula seed? Do you think that he went and planted it? Do you think he did something else? Tell a parent or a brother or a sister what you think, what might have happened. Okay, now that we've finished reading the Lorax, I want you to think about, how does this connect to our line of inquiry? So remember, I showed you that our line of inquiry is our responsibility to take care of the planet. So do you think that the Onceler did a very good job of taking care of the planet? I don't think so. I think that afterwards he felt really upset about it and he felt bad, but could he change it? Nope. It was too late. So we have to think about that now. It's important for us to think about how we can take care of the planet now, so then later we aren't like the Onceler where we're regretting the choices we made. So I want you to think about, what is one thing you can do to take care of the planet? And I also want you to think of, how does the Lorax, how does this story remind you, or how did you make a connection to our responsibility to take care of the planet? Let me know, and I cannot wait to hear your responses. Bye, guys.